welcome to Injili Media.
Some people will always want to question the validity and the authenticity of the Holy Bible. But if you're among those who are open to the truth, no matter where it is found or who finds it, then please keep watching, because this video is for seekers of truth. So let's begin our journey. On an ordinary day in the spring of 1947, a Bedouin goat herder, Muhammad Idib, tending to his herds in Khirbat near the Qumran caves at the western shore of the Dead Sea. Idli threw a stone in a cave and heard the sound of a breaking of a clay jar. Later, he and his cousin, Juma Muhammad, discovered more jars in those caves. In them were some old parchments wrapped in linen and covered with what looked like pitch. Thus begins the story of the Dead Sea Scrolls, one of the most startling discoveries in history and the most significant biblical discoveries of modern times. The complete story of the discovery of these scrolls was told for the first time in 1951 by a distinguished critic and author, Edmund Wilson, who recorded the events in a book called The Scrolls from the Dead Sea. The Bedouin boys who discovered the first scrolls sold goods across the Transjordan to Jerusalem, and eventually these scrolls reached Mar Athanasius Samuel, the Syrian metropolitan of the monastery of Saint Mark in Old Jerusalem. Archaeologist E.L. Sukinik purchased others for the Hebrew University. Scrolls were taken to Bethlehem, shown to a businessman, Ibrahim Ijha, and were deemed worthless. They were then taken to Syrian Christians in a nearby market who agreed to buy them. The scrolls kept exchanging hands for some time. In late 1947, some of these scrolls caught the eye of John C. Trevor of American School of Oriental Research, or ASOR, compared them with the Nash Papyrus and noticed similarities between them. Then, in the 1948 Arab-Israel War started, and the scrolls were moved to Beirut, Lebanon. On 11th April 1948, the head of ASOR, Miller Burrow, announced the discovery to the world. These scrolls discovered in the Qumran Valley were ancient Jewish manuscripts from the Second Temple period, generally accepted as around 600 years between 516 BC and 70 AD. They are written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, but mainly in Hebrew. Most were on parchment, and only a few were on papyrus. They contain the complete book of the prophet Isaiah and large and small portions of other scriptures and other writings that shed light on social norms, religious practices, and historical events, including a manual of discipline of an early monastic order. The saga of the Dead Sea Scrolls is a heart-stopping thriller of a story. Though many intriguing twists and turns of business, politics, military, adventurism, and plain human greed, the discovery and their safe journey to the world's top universities and the best scholar, archaeologists, historians, theologians, and secular scholars is a history in itself. During the Arab-Israel War of 1948, all archaeological activity in the region came to a sudden stop. After the war, in January of 1951, Ronald DeVore of the École Biblique and G. Lancaster Harding of the Jordanian Department of Antiquities restarted their search for any more scrolls in the desert. They discovered many remnants of a library of scrolls whose fragments numbered thousands. This collection seemed to have included books of the Bible, several apocryphal works, and literature of an early religious sect. This sect turned out to be the Essenes. Once discovered and read, these these century-old parchments hidden for safekeeping in earthen jars shook the academic world like a major earthquake, the tremors of which are still felt around the world nearly 80 years later. Now let's go back to the Essenes. Essenes were a close-knit religious community, as other historians like Flavius, Josephus, and Philo of Alexandria have written in quite some detail. Essenes did not marry but adopted children to raise them as good human beings. They lived very simple lives and devoted themselves to the service of others and doing good. They held all their goods in common. Among those scrolls is found a manual of discipline of an early monastic order which, when compared with the descriptions of the Essenes recorded by both Philo and Flavius, makes it almost certain that it is the manual of discipline practiced by Essenes. Samuel the Metropolitan smuggled 4 scrolls into the USA. In 1954, Yigel Yadin, Sukinek's son, was to bring them back to Jerusalem. As they were discovered, these parchments were sent to the scholars. When the prints of the Isaiah scrolls reached Dr. W. F. Albright, one of the greatest biblical archaeologists of Johns Hopkins University, who wrote back to the sender, "Dr. Trevor, my heartiest congratulations on the greatest manuscript discovery of modern times. There is no doubt in my mind that the script is more archaic than that of the Nash papyrus, and I would prefer a date around 1000 BC, and there can happily not be the slightest doubt in the world about the genuineness of the manuscript." Between November 1946 and February 1947, many other scrolls and fragments of the scrolls, including the Isaiah scroll, Habakkuk commentary, and community rulebook, were discovered. New scrolls, and as the search of this very treacherous desert territory continued, the researchers found more scrolls and fragments in smaller numbers in 1951 to 1956, and then 2017 to 2021. Between 1949 and 1956, Bedouins and joint archaeological expeditions from Western University discovered over 900 fragments of other scrolls. Altogether, the archaeologists have found over 15,000 fragments of about 8 to 900 scrolls. This treasure of knowledge has provided a stamp of authentication on the historicity of the Bible accounts, as it has the complete book of Isaiah, plus parts of many others. No wonder the world's top scholars have called it greatest find of the 20th century.
Thanks for watching.